Okay, I guess I'm recording now. So here's my third attempt at this video. This is going to be a little sketchy on the quality because I'm doing it off the camera built into the computer. So it looks like I got as far as Bikini Roundup versus Pendleton Roundup in those first two. Nikki, you talked about your dad saying about having a hitch in his come-along. That was actually my friend Mike, and I think I've told you about Mike. Hold on a second. Sorry. I think I told you about Mike. He was the officer that I worked with at Pullman PD who gave me the Land Cruiser, and he's the one who died here. Is it 2 years ago already? Anyway, he had a couple of other favorite sayings, a lot of favorite sayings. One thing that he always repeated that his dad used to say, which was always really funny given the fact that he was gay, was "Don't let your meat loaf." I told him that it was tacky. He thought it was funny. Also, he was a firefighter in Maple Valley for many years before he came over to the dark side of law enforcement, and his other favorite one was DRT, which stands for Dead Right There, which I guess is the morgue humor that you develop when you go to enough car crashes that are fatalities. So Dan, I think you had commented on Nikki's vacation structure of going with friends, and I don't know if you guys have ever done that. Dan and Sarah have ever done that. Well, you might have gone with Brad Miller, right? Maybe places. Relatives don't count since they're not really our friends. No, really kidding on that one. No, I'm not really kidding. But if you're listening and you're my relatives, I'm kidding. Dan and Sarah, I'm not kidding. We've gone on a few vacations with Dave and Amy, Beth's cousins, and their 4 kids. As you know, it's a hard one because the bigger the crowd, the harder it is to get to do exactly what you want to do. And you end up doing what everybody wants to do, which is usually nothing that anybody wants to do. So, I don't know. I've got mixed feelings about going with too big of a group, but Nikki, you guys seem to pull it off well. You've got the talent shows. I mean, I think that's cool stuff. So, snorkel cruise. Yeah, I think you may have been better off choosing the snorkel cruise. But here's the deal: is you went out on a boat, or you went out, the place was shut down, and you had this adventure where you actually had to talk to people, interact with locals, and you had no idea how it was going to turn out. Now, granted, I know that's not always the best thing when you're traveling with kids and you're trying to do things with them, but for stories later, it's by far the best thing. So kudos to you for doing that. I myself, rather than a snorkel cruise, would love to go on a sailing and swimming cruise. In fact, Dan and I have talked about this. I'm trying to talk him into doing a business with me someday like that, where we take people on sailing charters. By the way, Kyle is a sailboat captain, so that's a possibility that he could be the captain, and you could do all the mapping, and hell, I could do the swimming, and then Sarah could write about it. But really, what they are is they literally take you on swimming tours that you swim 2 and 3 miles a day, through, of course, warm tropical waters. And then in the evening, you sit on the sailboat and you sip whatever potent or non-potent potable that you want, and eat until you want to throw up. So, yeah. So the black sand beaches of Luna. I would love to see those. So I'm sorry you didn't take the camera, or that the camera didn't work, or that it was something like this. Look, there's the beautiful black beaches of Luna. And look, there's a woman in a bikini. Oh, now she's taking it off. Hold on, let me get a close-up. Wow. So, anyway, I'm sorry that's how it turned out. So that brings me up to I guess really my last topic that I want to talk about. And that is your grandmother. You had talked about her, I think, in a couple of videos. And how she's doing. And this is actually something that I've certainly thought about a lot, because with Beth's grandpa, who, as he aged, he was 89 when he died, and he was having more and more trouble driving, and I was surprised at the amount of pressure that Virginia brought to bear on him because of this. And the reason I was surprised is because Virginia's not the best driver to begin with. So in terms of driving abilities, I probably would feel as safe with Gamla Farfar, that's Beth's grandpa, with him as I would with Virginia. So what my point being is that we all have behaviors that when we're in our 20s or 40s are perhaps normal or eccentric or whatever, but suddenly when as we get older, and especially as our minds start going, we have to be in the position where we're suddenly seizing control of their freedom. And I don't know if you guys have thought about this, if you, Nikki, especially you, have put yourself into your grandmother's shoes, but you know how you're going to feel when your kids are trying to take your freedoms away, and you are slightly or mostly out of your mind, and all you have is a cane at hand to defend yourself. And I suspect that you also are going to whack people. And you know, I'm not quite sure what to do about that, because you know, here I am water skiing, breaking ribs, and if I water ski at 70 and start breaking ribs, then my kids are going to have concerns about me. And if I do it when I'm 80, they're going to try to put me into a home. And so I'm not quite sure how, you know, at what point do we declare. I mean, it's very troublesome, right? How do we declare somebody mentally incompetent and therefore make all their decisions for them? But even before the mentally incompetent stage, we decide that we know better. We decide that we know better what's best for them, what they need to do, as if somehow, having lived 70 or 80 years, they haven't earned the right to, you know, bring about their own demise in whatever way they choose. And I don't know. I really have mixed feelings about it, and about some things that we're going through with my own parents. And I really think that I could cajole them and strong arm them into getting a place up here. But honestly, I don't want to. I think they should spend their money however they want, and they should make whatever stupid decisions they want. You know, and as we sit back and we armchair quarterback all of their decisions and say, well, I can't believe they're doing that. That's you know, it's outrageous, or that's not rational, or they're not thinking, or just makes no sense, or they're just reacting, or whatever. There's something about when our parents turn 70 or 80 that we then have the additional right or responsibility, or at least we think we do, to then convince them to do what we want them to do. Even though 20 years ago we thought the exact same thing about our parents, but we weren't trying to convince them then, because their defenses are down now. You know what I mean? They just don't have the ability to withstand the emotional pressure that we're bringing to bear on them. So I think have you guys ever seen Harold and Maude? No? Okay. I just think I'm going to end up moving to another country, and I'm going to go off and I'm going to live somewhere else and be that wacky guy who ends up putting on one of those flying squirrel suits that you see people, they're not really skydiving, they're sort of sky sailing, you know what I mean, or sky gliding with. And I want to sort of auger into the side of a mountain when I'm 80 in one of those, and that might be just about right. And then of course all my descendants will shake their head and say, God, he was always so mental. Even when he was 44, he was mental. And I knew this was going to happen, as if somehow, I don't know. So I know it's hard. I can only imagine how difficult it is for your mother and for you, to see your grandmother, losing some of her mental faculties. But there's got to be a small part of you that's cheering when she hits the medical staff. I mean, don't we all want to hit the medical staff? I mean, really. And the problem is then there's a little bit of mental issues going on, and then you take their freedom and you put them in a home, and I mean that's got to just completely send you over the edge, I would think. So I don't know, I'm already sort of getting ready to be pissed off about it in 40 more years. And I'm just not, I guess I'm not really looking forward to that. I'm trying to figure out how to deal with it now. What do I tell my kids now and tell them repetitively that's going to keep them from doing these things to me when I'm 70 and 80. So, so tell me more, Nikki, about what you're going through with your grandmother, and what's going on, and how you're feeling about it, and how you're coping, and how you're dealing, and how your mom's dealing with it. And also what you think it means. I mean, what you think it's going to mean when you're that age, and how you're going to deal, or how you're going to deal with your mother when she's that age. And Dan, obviously, I'd like to hear more from you on this as well, because I just think that I see a lot of it with Beth's family, and I don't want to do it with my parents, where they get to a certain age and we're now cajoling them and bullying them into doing what we want them to do. And I don't want to do that. So, it looks like my customer audit report that I'm running is now complete. So I'm going to go over there and fiddle fart with it. And that's all I really had to say anyway. So tomorrow, Tuesday, it's supposed to be 70 degrees. We're going to go out skiing. We're going to do the 3 Speedos of the apocalypse. 3 of us are going to get up at one time behind the boat. We're all going to be wearing Speedos and wool toques. It should be a hell of a good time. And then this Saturday night, we're going to be doing a full moon swim. The full moon, I think, is actually Sunday night, but rather do it on a weekend night. So we're going to do a full moon swim out in the river, and if I can take video, I will. Until then, my friends, go USA.